Hi, and welcome to Random Rogers Big Picture, special Judgment Day edition from watching a couple of one too many mixed martial arts commercials. I wanted to do a quick recap, or as quick as I can, recap of the year. Try once a quarter to try and have some accountability, although that may change. We'll decide in the future, or I may get decayed for compliance issues. The reason why it's a video and not in print for people who are new is that video is like giving a speech. In our perception of compliance issues, it's okay to talk about performance in speech, but when you put it in print, it becomes subject to advertising and stuff like that, and it's much more complicated. So this is how we can do it. So to the numbers. The generic portfolio, actually I got to disclaim this a little bit with some caveats. Client account, this is just a generic thing. It's representative. It's not an exact client portfolio. I'm aware of some accounts that did better. I'm aware of some accounts that did not do as well. Client accounts tend to have different mixes of quirks that sometimes matter and sometimes don't to performance. So that being said, to the numbers, for the full year, the generic portfolio was up 13.56% versus 5.2, including dividends for the S&P 500. I beat the first quarter. I was ahead the first quarter, lagged the second quarter, ahead the third quarter, and ahead in the fourth, which adds up to a beat of a little over 8%. Couple of things. What I wanted to do was kind of go over some of the components here, and I'm not going to name too many names, but just give you an idea. Any type of portfolio is a mix of things that, do very well and things that don't do so well, as was the case here. And what matters really is how the blend overall performs. Is it as volatile as you want? Do you want it more volatile, less volatile? Managing various exposures to sectors, style, market cap, on and on and on. So, that being said, thought we'd just kind of go down the list here and pick out a few things. The financials, being underweight the group was really a big help for the year. I've been writing about it ad nauseum most of the year, if not all the year, and it turned out to be the right thing. The names I held, a couple of them did okay and a couple of them did lousy. The Irish Bank and the Domestic Bank both did lousy. The Irish Bank lagged XLF. My Domestic Bank was about the same as XLF. My Australian Bank was actually up 10%, but it lagged behind the Australian market. Canadian Bank was up, it says here 14%, which obviously beat XLF, but lagged Canada. Let's see, moving on here, technology. Most of the technology exposure is in ETF, so there's, with that, you've just got the sector. You're not going to, add value or not add value when you essentially own the sector. I had two other picks, one of which lagged the sector, the other did add some value. Healthcare was kind of the two big caps I own didn't add any value at all. They lagged IOH a little bit. One biotech stock that I own for quite a few people had a great year. Generic drug company had a great year. Medical device company had a pretty good year. It was up about 35%. The device company which was ahead of IOH, and there's a device ETF, IHI, so it did better than that. Industrials, those stocks, for the most part, actually did pretty well. Nothing crappy there, just kind of a mix of domestic and foreign, along with the water ETF. Volvo, which is a long-time holding, had a pretty good year, up 20%, but it finished the year way off its high, so it added a lot the first 6 months, and then was a drag later on. Energy, I did not have such a great year. The sector did very well, and I certainly captured most of the effect, but the group of stocks I own, in the past, they have added value. It just so happens that this year they did not add any value. I don't think it really, hurt necessarily, but it didn't add any value there, I wouldn't say. Let's see, moving on, consumer. I was much heavier in staples than discretionary. The names there, Altria added some value, Diageo no, a couple of the other ones not so much. Nike was a discretionary name that I bought either a year ago, December or January, I don't remember which, but it was up something like 30%. That was obviously added some value. Moving on, materials. Well, I had a chemical stock that was crappy. A couple of mining stocks that did pretty well. Plum Creek Timber had a fine year, but it did lag IYM, using that as a proxy. One name that I added late in the year, I'll disclose it now since it was up so much, and it added a lot, and I do include it in materials, is Monsanto. I bought it in October, and I got stupid lucky with it, and that probably added some value there. Telecom did pretty well. I've got one stock, a foreign stock that was up 55%, so that is kind of a lot. An ETF that was up just a little bit, but better than the iShares version. Utilities did pretty good. I added a foreign sector ETF, and that was up 22%. One stock was up a lot, actually, up 25%, and one other that really didn't do anything at all. Emerging market, the broad-based one, obviously did well. Gold did well. Double Short did a great job as far as I used this very sophisticated tool once before, where during the year when the market was doing this, the portfolio was doing that. SDS helped manage some of the downturn, if you will. Also, during this part of the year, the bounce back in emerging market, the bounce back in materials helped in a huge way. My one REIT ETF, not ETF, my one REIT stock did crappy. I sold it too late, took a tax loss. So plenty of things that worked, plenty of things that didn't. The focus here really needs to be, though, is what comes next. There are going to be years as you manage your own portfolio where you're going to, really do a good job and add some value, and other years where you do lag the market. No one beats the market every year. I'm on a little bit of a hot streak, according to our official marketing literature, of 3 years of being ahead of the market, which is great, but means nothing going forward. The key is just that, looking forward and knowing that, okay, what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, how do you manage around those things as the market goes up. My strength probably, or my weakness probably, is that the next time the market's up 30% in a year, I'm going to lag at that time. A year where the S&P is up 3%, 5% with factoring in the dividends, that is a time where an active manager has a good shot of adding value, and I think that's what I did. Don't get too excited about beating the market by a healthy chunk, just as I wouldn't get too upset by lagging it the next time I lag it. And both should go with the territory. That's about it. Have a good weekend.